In this lesson, we're going to set up the basic React app where we're going to be writing all of our code in this course. Now, hooks were introduced in React version 16.8, which was released in February of 2019. So when you're watching this course, you have to remember that your version of React has to be at least 16.8 or greater. To keep things as simple as possible, we're going to be using Create React App. If you're unfamiliar with Create React App, it's an open source tool released by the core React team that bootstraps a basic React application from scratch. So it sets up a simple bare bones React app where we can start playing around immediately. So Create React App allows us to avoid the difficulty of setting up complicated things like a Webpack module bundler, the Babel transpiler, etc. So we want to spend as much time as we can focusing exclusively on hooks, and Create React App is going to help us simplify the process of getting our React app up and running. The first thing that we want to do here is to confirm that the Node JavaScript runtime environment is installed on our computer. So here I have my terminal open and I can just execute node-v. And the -v is a flag that stands for version. So if you execute this command and you get back a valid version, then you successfully have Node installed on your computer and you are good to go. The next thing I also want to check is that we have an up-to-date version of the NPM or Node Package Manager, which is the tool that allows us to download various libraries, dependencies, etc. Within the Node ecosystem. So things like React, React DOM, as well as any other JavaScript library. So to check the version of the Node Package Manager, we can execute npm and also attach that -v flag. That -v is short for version. So this is going to give me back a version of npm. Now, if you have a version that is less than 5.2, what I recommend is that you upgrade the version of Node, and that is going to also give you an up-to-date version of npm. The reason for this is because npm version 5.2 and greater comes bundled with another utility tool called npx, and npx is actually what we're going to be using to help simplify the process of setting up Create React App. It makes it as smooth and as simple as possible. So if your version of Node is out of date, I recommend going to something like nodejs.org and downloading and installing a more up-to-date version. Or even another option is setting up something like the Node Version Manager, NVM, which will allow you to install more than one version of Node on your operating system. All right, so if you have a version of Node that is up to date, which means NPM is greater than 5.2, we are ready to proceed. What we want to do here is to execute npx, followed by a space, and we're going to write create-react-app, and then another space, and then hooks-playground. So we're going to tell the npx command line tool to use Create React App to create an app for us called Hooks Playground. So Hooks Playground represents the name of our project or the name of our directory where all the code will be placed. And this is just an arbitrary decision. It can be whatever name you choose. For this course, I'm just going to call it Hooks Playground. So as I execute this command, the terminal is going to show you a whole bunch of output as it fetches React and React DOM and React scripts and wires up all of the dependencies, downloads all of the packages that React needs to work. So obviously the speed of this will depend on your internet connection as well as your computer's processing power, but it should be pretty quick, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute max. And once it builds everything, it's going to give you this nice output, which is going to explain to you how you get this app up and running. And it's pretty simple. We just have to navigate into our directory. Here we see cd hooks playground, and then execute the yarn start or npm start command, and that's going to get everything running for us. So if I go ahead and execute cd hooks playground, there I am inside that directory, and in here I can execute something like npm start. And what should happen is that once this is up and running, it's going to start a development server. And here on the right side, I have my browser open. And as soon as it's done taking care of all the code, we should go ahead and see a running React app in the browser. It's just going to be this rotating atom icon. And if you see this, then everything is up and running. All right, so we are all good to go to get started, but there are a couple caveats before we close off this lesson. First of all, for this course, I'm going to be using the open source Visual Studio Code text editor. So I'm going to go ahead and open that right now. You're more than welcome to use any editor of your choice, but I'm just going to go ahead and open code right here. If you have it installed on your computer, you should have it set up with command line tools, and I can open Visual Studio Code by just writing code, followed by a dot. That opens the text editor in the current directory. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and there it is. And you're going to notice a pretty simple development structure here on the left side. We're going to have an src or source directory, and in here we're going to have an app.js file. In this course, what I'm going to be doing is writing each lesson sample code in this central App.js file that Create React App has automatically created for us, and which it uses as the launching point for the app. So to keep things simple, I'm going to be violating a few basic best practices. For example, if I have multiple React components, I'm going to keep all of them within this single App.js file. The reason I'm going to do that is just to avoid the hassles of things like extra files, extra imports. It just makes it easier for us to understand it if all of the code goes within a single file. It's not ideal for a real production app, but for the purposes of learning, I'm going to keep everything within this single file, and that will allow me to also make the file really easy to share. All you have to do is download the app.js file for a given lesson and just plop it into your directory, and you should see the changes in your browser, so it keeps things very minimal. All right, so we can also do a couple of things here just to get us ready for working with this app.js file. We can first of all clean up all this import code up top, lines 2 and 3, the importing of the logo as well as the CSS. We're not going to need it. And what I'm also going to do here is clean up all of this JSX. We don't need all of this complexity. I'm just going to add a simple H1 header, and in here I'm going to write welcome to the course. And I'm going to save this file on the left, and we should start to see the changes populate on the right in the browser, and there we go. And that's exactly how the course is going to work. In each lesson, I'm just going to begin with a basic template in app.js. I'm going to write some code, save it. We're going to see the progress on the right side, and then we're going to talk through all of the new features that are available with React hooks. So if you have a similar setup, if you're seeing what I see, if your Create React app has successfully worked, you should have a directory structure that looks like this. You can ignore every file in there besides app.js, and once you start things up with npm start in that directory, you should be able to navigate to localhost 3000 in your browser. That's localhost:3000, and you should see something like this, whatever you have written in your editor. And of course, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but if you keep npm start running and the Create React app is working in the background, you'll be able to make all of your changes here in the text editor, and as soon as you save them, they should populate automatically in the web browser where you're observing the actual React app in action. And whenever you want to shut down Create React app, you just go back to your terminal and press Command-C on a Mac. I believe it would be something like Control-C on a Windows machine. That will shut it down, and the next time you need to launch it, you just navigate back into that directory and re-execute npm start again, and that will take you to where you need to be. All right, so we are ready to proceed, and I will see you in the next lesson.